this video is going to give you all kinds of examples for those of you that have ever had a thought in your head of, gosh, should I nuke this switchgrass? Should I try switchgrass? What do I do next in my switchgrass? Hey Jake, is this seed head switchgrass? What grass is this, guys? Can you help me out? All of those questions from all of those habitat guys that pop up on forums and everything about switchgrass, and you just almost want to pull your hair out, because this crop does not come like soybeans, does not come like the corn, does not come like our rye and our fall blends that just shoot out of the ground. Guys, it's so frustrating. This video is going to give you all kinds of examples, herbicides to use, soil prep, everything you need to grow a successful stand of switchgrass. Stay tuned, hit that subscribe button. This is what we do here at Habitat Pro, give you real stuff that you can use on your property, one little topic at a time. All right, so here's the first lesson I had. Obviously you can see I sprayed this dead. That was an accident. I hit stop on the sprayer right behind me because as I came up over this rise, thinking I was just spraying corn and foxtail, what I found was rows that were very short. This was my second spraying, so it was in the end of June. Very short grasses. I assumed it was all foxtail. All right, now I brought you a little bit closer, so I want you to see this. This is what I saw on the wheeler when I came up over the rise spraying. Roundup is in the tank, it's on, we're spraying. There's a row, there's a row, there's a row, there's a row. I mean, that's what I saw when I was spraying. So in my head, I thought, well, what the heck is that? I thought this was all junk, and then I slammed on the brakes, turned off the sprayer, because the only thing I've planted here in rows, as you can see, is John Comp's food plot screen from Northwoods Whitetails and switchgrass. So as I saw that and started inspecting this, you notice here some of it's green foxtail. That's the bane of the switchgrass farmer's existence right there. That stuff is garbage. But I also had switchgrass coming, which is that seed head. And I found a young one here so you guys can tell on your own. Look at that. You see that one? There it is. Coming right out of this plant, August, what is it, 29th today. And it's just getting there, just now. It's just throwing up a seed head. And you can see these plants are a little farther along. This is year 2 switch. And obviously, guys, with this corn planted here, you can see this was not my plant. I thought it was all dead, it was gone. I'm not a patient man. And this is just one of those times where I had to kind of eat it, because this whole field is foxtail, the whole thing. And since I thought it was gone, I figured, well, let's prep for corn. I'd already bought all my screen, I'd already put it all in, John was out. So let's get some corn in here and spray in round 2, and I probably, well, I did kill a bunch of switchgrass, which will get planted again. Now that I know, I have to be a patient man. All right, guys, here's where I had to kill some foxtail in sorghum. That's right, the sorghum was already up. It was about this tall. So I came in and I sprayed quinclorac. That's the active ingredient. And I sprayed it at a full rate with MSO, methylated seed oil, was the surfactant in there. And what I got here is a pretty good kill on foxtail. And then the brand new surprise that I found this week was, wow, this second year switchgrass just blew right out of the foxtail once I killed it. All right, so as you can see here, this is what excited me today. Cave and rock switchgrass right there. You can see the seed heads like we saw in the previous stand. Not doing great. Not awesome nutrition in this soil, but it's coming. And what you notice inside of this is almost a clean stand of it. But out here where I didn't spray, I still have the foxtail problem. All right, so we just walked up from that corner. Here's our access. You can see our HD food plot screen from John, I don't know, 12, 14 feet tall. Have no idea, it's huge. And this is the trail that deer have been all over, but this is what got me excited, guys. Look at the switchgrass seed heads in here. And this is where I killed the foxtail for the most part, but like I said, I waited too long, so the sorghum had almost canopied out, so I didn't hit all of the foxtail, but I did enough to knock it back so that the sorghum could take off. And obviously the switchgrass liked it as well. See, there's some of my brown foxtail. You can see that. And then we're coming out here. Deer love this trail, unfortunately for us, but there's the vintage earth blind, and this is the idea with this screen, is coming into this plot for a late season hunt. Soybeans, sugar beets, corn, rye will go in here. We're going to mow some trails through it so I can actually get my four-wheeler spreader in here for some rye the next rain we get. So that's the plan, but man, just loving to see this dead foxtail from quinclorac and MSO, and then wow, the sorghum. Look at that jungle, and switchgrass definitely coming underneath. I'm going to show you one more spot, guys, where I literally killed everything 3, 4, 5 times this year just prepping for switchgrass. What I thought was a failed stand, and it's not, because I'm not patient. I'm just prepping this for next year. Gonna frost seed some switchgrass in before the first snow. This stuff, you know, I drilled it too deep or had too many weeds or whatever. You know what goes through your head when you plant switchgrass and it doesn't come up right away like you want it. But now look at this. I haven't done anything up here for about 6 weeks. And switchgrass, foxtail. This is why you gotta be so patient. So I don't know how much switchgrass I actually killed in here, but you can see I got a bunch of stuff coming. Switch, 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 switch. Now none of this is throwing a seed head because this is first year dormant seed. Okay, this is the dormant stuff that came up. Even though it was planted 2 years ago, that first season, there is some dormant seed that sits in the ground, and that's what's so tough for guys, is you just don't understand that most of your seed just, you know, it's not going to do much your first year. I don't have one seed head in this patch because I round up, oh, strike that, here we go. There is a seed head in this switch. There he is, just shooting out. You can see he came right out of there, and this is just before he's opening up. So I'm going to show you the difference. Here we go. You can see down in here it's really stiff. You see that? It's a stiff stalk to this thing, and there's just a smidge of a purplish hue at the bottom. But this foxtail, this stuff is thick, fleshy. You know, you can see how far the red comes up on the stalks. So once you have it on your property and you can identify them side by side, you know, this is just, it's just a wide flat stalk. It's not strong at all. Whereas if you come to these new stands of switch, these new clumps, they're really springy. Sorry for that. And then there's just a smidge of that purple stuff at the base. Right there, see that? All right, so what have we learned here? Well, I'm going to refer to my good friend Jason Tank's advice. He owns a business called Minnesota Habitat, and he is by far the most knowledgeable on these native warm season grasses of anybody that I've talked to. Puts in hundreds of acres a year, burns thousands of acres a year. He's the guy, okay? So here's his tips. How do we get this switchgrass stuff to grow when we're a normal, average Joe deer hunter? Number one, prep your dirt. Prep your dirt. You have to get perennial grasses out of the way. You cannot tolerate them. Guys, I know even you no-till guys, I'm one of them. You've got to till. You've got to bust up that sod layer. You have to get rid of that perennial grass. Got to get it gone if you want a good stand to switch. Number two, buy good seed. Make sure that your seed is from a reputable seed dealer, that you've seen this stuff in action, you know it's quality, you know it germs well. You gotta buy good seed in everything, but especially with switchgrass. Number 3, you have to drill it at the right depth, guys. Some of you guys are gonna frost seed, and that's fine. I chose to drill. Jason chooses to drill just because it's a more consistent way to get it into the soil where you need it. We're looking at that 1/8 of an inch depth. You've got to get it drilled at the proper depth. The worst thing you can do is go too deep. If you're worried about what your seed drill can do, you're worried about can it get up in that profile of 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch where we need it, will it go too deep? Just frost seed it and go with that. Add a little more to the rate, go at that 10 pounds per acre rate, just because you know you're going to lose some seed. That's my advice to you guys who aren't sure what your drill can do. Number 4, you have to have a maintenance schedule in mind. Jason's advice, the first season, just mow. If your soil prep was right and you don't have the perennials coming back, you should be just dealing with annual weeds. Annual weeds throw up a seed head, keep it clipped just underneath that seed head. You don't want mulch. If you do have mulch, you got to get it out of there because that cools the soil down. Then chemicals. Not a big fan of using chemicals, but I'll use them when I know what the weed is and I know I can kill it without killing my baby switchgrass. Now switchgrass in years 2 and 3, I don't mind doing whatever I need to do. Next year, I can tell you, I'm going to be doing probably Roundup and Simazine early in the spring before this switches up, but I know what it looks like. If you don't know what it looks like, just go with Simazine. Okay? Roundup can only be put in if you know your switchgrass is not up yet. That takes care of a lot of your cool season, jump right out of the ground stuff early in May, where I am in northern Minnesota. When it comes around to summer, I'm definitely on this farm in particular going to be looking to knock back the foxtail with 1, maybe 2 rounds of quinclorac. Okay, I'm going to put that down with methylated seed oil, but I'm definitely going to be looking for some post-emergent there. Okay, what I'm going to do in the fall then next year, since I'm on year 2, is I'm going to be putting down 2,4-D, maybe even Stinger, depending on what weeds I have here. If I have a thistle problem, I'll probably use Stinger and 2,4-D. Guys, you've got to make sure that you are able to use chemicals when needed. And number 5, guys, if you are afraid of fire, hire it done, because that first fire is going to help you a ton with stimulating the native warm season grasses at the right time and knocking back your cool season competition at the time that your switchgrass wants to take off, and it's going to get that thatch off of there. You can't just plant a stand to switch and leave it for 30 years and expect it to be great. I've hunted those patches, guys. They have to get burned or they got to get hayed. You got to get stuff off of that soil so that it really heats up and these native warm season grasses can jump out of the ground. Hopefully those tips help you guys out with your switchgrass plantings. If you have any other advice, comment down below. It's a fantastic thing for some properties. For other properties, if it's an absentee landowner, I typically am not advising that you try to do this stuff. It is a high maintenance thing on the front end, and then it'll last you for years to come. This is Jake Bull, the Habitat Pro. We are in northern Minnesota. Get out and enjoy your woods, guys.